check, check. All right. Take your seats. Take your seats, please. We're going to get going right now. We're good and cracking here. All right. Attention, please. Can we quiet down? We're going to get going, guys. Thank you very much. Wonderful. Thank you, thank you, thank you for coming, guys. What an amazing turnout. It's crazy, right? If you told me a year ago that we'd have the mayor and we'd be talking about Bitcoin at the Funk Coffee Bar here, I'd call you crazy. So things are accelerating. Bitcoin's accelerating. It's exciting. So thanks for coming. This is... So just a couple things here. So yes, welcome. Thank you for coming, guys. We've got, we try and do this once a month, by the way, right? So if you want to come to more meetups, you can go to the MeetUp site and look for BTCVANCITY. That's across Twitter and X and YouTube. So BTCVANCITY is the tag there if you want to follow and come to more events and see some of the stuff that we do. We're going to be live streaming. Well, we're live streaming right now. Hello, live people. Thanks for Rav over there, crushing it. Thank you, sir. So live streaming. So there are cameras, one there, one there. So like you just make sure you're not kind of strolling over on this side. You're going to get your head and block it. So just be aware there's cameras. And if you're practicing OPSEC and don't want people to know that you have, maybe you have Bitcoin, I don't know. Don't look at the camera or maybe stay on that side. Hockey game's still on. What's the score? 4? Shit. Okay. And yeah, thank you for Curtis and letting us crash this facility. Thank you very much. So we're going to be doing, so what I mentioned before, there's orange tickets. The majority of the tickets are on a big roll over there. There's a few scattered around. Again, if you want to win a portion of $500, go to bitcoinwell.com/BTCVANCITY. Sign up for an account. Write your name on the back of the ticket. And I'm collecting all the tickets over there, so make your way over there. We're going to do the draw after the talk, so there's lots of time. If you don't have a wallet, because you're going to buy the Bitcoin after, go to coinos.io, create a username and a password, and we'll show you how to transfer the money or the Bitcoin into that wallet. All right? Yes, Coinos, sponsor, thank you very much. Bitcoin Well, sponsor, thank you very much. Coin Cards, sponsor, thank you very much. So we're going to give away some stuff throughout the evening. What else? What else? I'm just curious. Show of hands. Whose first Bitcoin meetup is this? Yeah, that's great. That's awesome. Yeah, you guys are welcome. Come. Choked on my gum. That was your fault. You gave me gum. All right, so yeah, I think with that we can get going. Oh, the one thing, one of the giveaways I'm going to do is for a cold card. That is a storage device where you can transfer the Bitcoin off of an exchange or wherever you typically it's going to be on an exchange, and not your keys, not your coins is the phrase that we kind of go by. So if you have Bitcoin that you've purchased and it's on an exchange, you don't own the keys to that Bitcoin. So you don't own it, actually. You have an IOU, right? So we want to get Bitcoin off of exchanges and you holding it yourself. So this device that I'm going to give away at the end also will help you do that, and we can talk about that more. To win that, you need to, I want more streamers and people streaming this. So I have, or if you go to YouTube, no, how am I doing this? On X, if you have a Twitter account, go to X and go to BTCVANCITY, and I've pinned a tweet at the top, which is the link to the YouTube. So I'm going to choose someone that's retweeted that tweet at the end of the night and give away the cold card. All right. So before we get Ken, we're going to do a really quick 30-second spot for Adam from Bitcoin. Oh, actually, no, you're not now. You want to? You're going to say you want to? Huh? Okay, we're good. We're going to skip Adam. Thank you for your support. But Adam from Cole from Coinos. Where's Cole? Cole. Okay, you're gonna do a quick intro about Coinos, and then we'll kick it over to Ken.
Hi, everybody. Is everyone fired up or what? Mayor Ken, thank you. Yeah. So I represent the company Coinos. We are a Bitcoin Lightning wallet. I like to think we are the easiest way that anyone can get started with Bitcoin. Yeah. We specialize in setting up businesses of all legal types to accept Bitcoin as a payment option, Bitcoin and Lightning. Vancouver is now #1 in all of North America with Bitcoin merchant adoption. If you want to know where you can spend your Bitcoin as Bitcoin or Lightning as a payment option, you can go to btcmap.org. You'll be surprised how many places in the world are accepting Bitcoin as a payment option, because I personally believe that using Bitcoin as a spendable currency is very valuable in addition to holding it as a store of value. You can also go to coinos.io/map where you can see where you can spend Bitcoin. There's over 25 different business types in Vancouver where you can spend Bitcoin, and we are trying to help people be able to live off of Bitcoin without needing to go into dollars. We're getting very close to you being able to live off of Bitcoin and not need to touch dollars. So thank you very much for having this amazing event.
Okay, I keep. Good plug. So I forgot to mention something super important. In August 16 and 17, we are Canada scored. That's 2-2. Nice. It says 2-1 over there. That's delayed. All right. I'm canceling my subscription that I bought for tonight because people threatened to not come because of the game. So there is a Bitcoin conference being organized in the city at the conference center in Vancouver here. So Tristan came over from the island. We're also giving away 2 VIP tickets for the event. That's an $800 value for the conference in August. I'm just going to let Tristan come on up here for a second and give us some more spiel.
Thanks, buddy. That was literally the whole spiel, so I'm going to head around with raffle tickets and hand them out. If you don't win, I've set up a code for 24 hours, MeetUp20, MeetUp20. It's going to get you 10% off tickets if you don't win, and that's for you on the live streams too. Thank you, bro.
All right, so with, what do you say, further ado? No further, whatever it is. Let's get this going. Please give a super warm welcome to our host, Curtis, and Mayor Kensim.
Woo. A lot of people here. Oh my gosh. Hi, Mom.
Literally. That's awesome.
You know, it's funny. My mom, she used to work for City Hall of Port Moody. And she told me that, you know, there's formal ways to be able to address a mayor. And she said that, you know, when she was working there, she would have to call the mayor your worship. So just, you know, for the benefit of everyone here, what do you prefer?
You know, there's only one person on the entire planet I want to, you know, I want her to call me your worship. And she's like, yeah, piss off, Kenny. That's not going to happen. No, but for everyone else, just call me Ken. Actually, as an aside, there's a reason I dress the way I do. And first, supporting Vancouver brands for the most part. But I just want to be approachable because the role of mayor is so intimidating for so many people. And that's just not me. And so I don't take myself too seriously. I take the job really seriously. And I just want people to be able to approach me without fear. So call me Ken. It actually helps me out a lot as well. So
Awesome. Well, I mean, it'll be important because I think before we end this, we're probably going to do some Q&A with the audience. So that'll be a good opportunity to engage. So, you know, me, myself, I've never envisioned myself getting into politics or anything like that. I can't actually imagine what it's like. And so for you, like, what made you want to get into politics? Like, I know that you're also an entrepreneur. What was your journey to actually deciding, being like, hey, maybe I should run for mayor?
you want the short answer or the middle answer?
We'll take the middle answer.
The long answer. Maybe I'll just go with it's not that great of a story, but no, for me, and it actually ties into Bitcoin. And there's I want you to parking lot this because there's a reason why we're going out on a limb to fight this battle at the city of Vancouver. It's early, and we look like freaks, and we expose ourselves to a lot of risk, but it's worth it. So the reason I ran for mayor is our 4 boys did not see a future for themselves in Vancouver. That's it. Like I hate politics. I don't want to be a politician. I have no aspirations to be premier or prime minister. This isn't a stepping stone for anything. I just want a place where our kids will be able to call home and want to call home. And that's like for all of our friends and families as well. And so that's why I ran.
Was there like a specific reason why your kids are like, no, I don't know if Vancouver's for me in the future?
Yeah, and so it's interesting because a lot of people talk about housing affordability or attainability, and my kids at the time, they were too young to even think about that. They're thinking about opportunity, and is this cool? Is this city a cool place to be? And will we be able to have a career here in the industry that we want to be in? Is there a vibe in the city? And so that's what they were thinking at the time. Now they're starting to think about housing attainability as well, but that wasn't on the radar at the time.
Yeah, fair enough. I mean, what's it like being mayor in this city? Like, if I go and spend 5 minutes on Reddit and I just kind of look at all the comments.
It's a terrible place.
It gets pretty nasty on there, right? Like, there's a lot of people that have a lot of things to say, and a lot of that sometimes get directed at you. So I guess my question is, like, how do you maintain your own sense of self of well-being, given there's so many people out there that have so many different opinions and a lot of them negative?
I don't go on Reddit. Yeah. No, you know what? How do I put this? I have a pretty thick skin, and I know what we do. Like, it may not be right. We might not always have the right answers, but I know the spirit of intent is totally there. And there will be haters. There will be people that have differences of opinion. And I actually think that's healthy. Where I come from, like I think of our companies. If you surround yourself with everyone who agrees with you, you're in a lot of trouble. And so we actually celebrate diversity of thought, and we have robust conversations, and then we settle on something. The unfortunate thing with politics, the reward system is such that, for the most part, politicians get rewarded by dividing people. And it's easier to win an election if you divide people. Whereas and I rarely say I, but for me, I have 5 personal goals that, when achieved, I'm out. Like, I resign the next day. So if we achieve these goals tonight, I would literally resign tomorrow morning. One of them is actually having a united city, which means, it's important not just what you do and how you do it, but it's important how you win an election. And so I don't know if you've noticed this, we don't punch down. Actually, that's not true. We finally took a shot at someone, but there's a reason for that. But we never attack, we'll attack ideas. We will never attack individuals. We will not demonize individuals because it's just bad form.
Yeah, fair enough. And looking forward to hearing more about those other 5 ideas that, if you got them done, then you would quit tomorrow. Because
I can tell you right now.
Yeah, I mean, that'd be great.
The downtown east side, I think we can do a lot better, a lot better. And the answer is actually simple. Yeah. We already know the answer. If that's what you guys want to talk about, we can. But the downtown east side, it's not a complicated issue. Don't believe that. It's actually simple. It's just hard. The second thing is, like I said, having a united city. The third thing is Chinatown, revitalizing Chinatown. And we only have one shot at it, and we're lucky. By the way, there's so many people that kept Chinatown alive for us to be able to get there and support. But if Chinatown disappears, it's not coming back. And you can't, if you look at other neighborhoods, and I don't want any neighborhood to disappear, but if Kerrisdale or Gastown had a really bad run, it would come back. Chinatown would not come back. It would come back in a different form. So Chinatown was a big thing. Like I said, the fourth thing is our kids, creating a place where our kids can and want to call home. So that's when we talk about housing attainability, we talk about being a very business-friendly environment, so a bunch of different organizations and industries can do stuff here. We talk about swagger because it's also about having a place that's super cool, that there's a nightlife and there's a bar scene and there's music and there's restaurants and there's a lot of stuff going on because that's what people want to do. So we can talk about that as well. But the biggest thing is creating something that's bigger than any one person, something that is sustainable and scalable. And so when you look at, if you're measuring my success as a leader, don't look at what happens today or when I'm in office. Look what happens to our city the 4 years after I leave. And if it does better, not because they ripped up the playbook and went the other direction, but we did a great job of recruiting and grooming our future leaders and creating all the structures in place so the future leaders can succeed better than we ever did, then I was successful. If not, I was a shitty leader and I actually didn't achieve anything. And so that will be my report card, you know, when everything's said and done.
Yeah, I mean, that's so much to try to work towards. I mean, those initiatives and those problems seem so challenging, but you know, a little bit at a time, right? And it's good to hear that. You know, I think in 2022 when you got elected, and in terms of trying to make a united Vancouver, you did get elected as a majority, right? And you did get the popular vote. It was more than 50%, which was great. So, you know, with that kind of vote of confidence, or if anything, that mandate towards your platform that you wanted to put together, what are some of the things that you're most proud of so far in the last 3 or so years of your tenure here?
You know, there's a lot, and I speak on behalf of our team because I do want to stress I only represent one super duper tiny part of this team, and it's not just the elected officials and the incredible people that choose to work at the City of Vancouver. And look, I would call it as I see it. If our people sucked, I'd say, yeah, we got some human resource issues here. Our people are absolutely amazing. They're working in a broken system, but we are so lucky as residents of Vancouver to have the people that work at the City of Vancouver, be it engineering, VPD, Vancouver Fire and Rescue Services, the list goes on. And so I can give you hundreds of stories of why that's true. So what am I super proud of personally? You know, like in no important order, and we talked about this, you know, we're talking to a firefighter from Squamish, but we had heard that the firefighters are using suits that cause cancer. And we heard about this about a year and a half ago, and we're like, okay. And we spoke to the police chief and the senior leadership team and the union and said, look, the technology doesn't exist yet, but scour the planet, because when the technology finally exists, we want to be the first firefighting service to have it. And not to like brag about it, no, we just want to protect our people. And I can tell you, so we set them off on that mission. They did all the hard work, they scoured the earth, and I can tell you, Vancouver last year became the first fire service on the planet to get suits that don't cause cancer for our members. So that was really cool. You know, we've done a lot of stuff on permitting. Public safety was a big thing, so hiring 100 additional police officers. We've actually hired 200 now. And by the way, just so we know, most of the issues that the police deal with actually aren't policing issues. They are healthcare issues. They're mental health and addiction. So, you know, let's not, like, in the media, a lot of things get weaponized. You got to realize that you have a lot of people that are trying to like oppose us, and so they weaponize this stuff. But these are healthcare issues. So when I look at the police, one of the programs that, it's actually a Made in Vancouver program that we're super proud of, is this thing called CAR 8788, which partners a nurse with a police officer. They ride together, and they're able to help people who are experiencing mental health crisis, and they're able to help them before it becomes a reactive police incident. And it's a phenomenal program that's getting copied all around the world now. And so that originated in Vancouver. We doubled the size of that program in Vancouver. I don't know, Chinatown, we were able to put a lot of resources into Chinatown. So now Chinatown's more safe and it's more vibrant. So if you go there on a Friday night, it's actually really cool now.
I heard you had an office there.
We do, and we could do a better job at that office, but we do have an office. That was important that we had a presence there as well. We piloted a car light program at Gastown because I think that could be one of the most iconic neighborhoods on the planet. And so we can talk about that. No, there's a whole host of issues, things that we're proud of. And what I can say is we committed to doing 94 things. And as of today, we have started and or completed 80% of the 94 things, in addition to all the other things that have just come up, like, elected park board that, we're gonna get rid of, and we can talk about that as well. The de-encampment of a very unsafe situation on Hastings in an empathetic way where, contrary to what you read in the media, every single person who wanted housing got housing. Every single person that wanted to keep their belongings kept their belongings. Everyone was taken care of. And so we did it with a lot of empathy. And once again, it wasn't us. Credit our team, our engineers, supported by our firefighters and our police officers, did an amazing job.
That's awesome. I mean, I was a proud voter in 2022 and glad to see you get in. And I kind of like what Fussler said earlier, to imagine that for some reason my hometown and we would have the mayor talking about making us a Bitcoin friendly city. That just seems so far out of it. But I did hear a rumor that you kept a copy of the Bitcoin Standard on your bookshelf in your office. And that kind of just what made me think. I know that you did accept donations as well during your campaign. And I was always kind of like fingers crossed that at some point you would be coming out and being like, hey guys, like, what about this Bitcoin thing? And I think a lot of people here tonight are also interested to hear about how you got there personally. So what is your journey around Bitcoin? When did you first hear about it, and kind of, how did that actually, at what point did you come to the realization it's like, hey, we need to do something about this, and we need to do something about this in Vancouver?
Okay. So I got to qualify this with, now we're talking about Bitcoin. I am not qualified to give investment advice. Anything I say is not investment advice. And in Bitcoin, don't trust, verify. So we have enough witnesses. So if someone says, yeah, Ken Sim gave me investment advice, well, this is being recorded. I am definitely not. Okay, so maybe I'll set it up for you a little bit, and I'll tell you about my background. And it's not to boast. It's because later on you're going to go, yeah, you're an idiot. Okay, so, but I was a finance grad at UBC, or Sauder School of Business now. I'm a chartered accountant. I was an investment banker. I was in private equity. I worked in Toronto, Vancouver, London, England. So, evidently I know a lot about finance. And so my second son, we have 4 boys. My second son, God, what is it? Probably a year and a half before I finally, made my first purchase. He said, "Dad, I want to buy a Bitcoin." And I literally said, "You touch that shit, and I'm going to punch you in the throat."
Sounds like a smart kid, though.
Yeah, it was a smart, like I said, because I'm the smartest guy on the planet. I'm a chartered accountant, investment banker, private equity, finance grad. But then I did the work. Everyone in the community knows of Jeff Booth, or if you don't, you will know of Jeff Booth. Jeff's been a buddy for a long time. I've known him through like the EO days, and when he had chickens, hitting, like pecking at floors on the hardwood floors or the laminate floors that he would sell on Built Direct. And so I've known him. And so I read his book, and we're talking. And then I read, at the time, it's a lot more now, but 12 books that are Bitcoin adjacent. So, the Bitcoin Standard, The Truth Machine, Token Economy, When Money Dies, the list goes on. And you start to see it, and then as any Bitcoiner knows, you really can't unsee it. right? And it's not even about Bitcoin for some of this. It's just like we're living in a crazy time where our currencies are getting debased and governments around the world are stealing from us. And it's, yeah. A true Bitcoiner. The rest of you who didn't clap, you will understand that.
I'm not just Bitcoin, just
Yeah.
anything de-dollarization.
Yeah, yeah. You know, and it's funny, right? Like, maybe, can I jump around here a little bit? Okay, so, you know, well, actually, maybe I'll finish the story and then we'll talk about the debasement. So anyways, I did a bunch of work, and I remember on November the 14th, 2020, I bought $500 worth of Bitcoin. But before I bought that, I remember, like, it went from, like, I was dragging my ass that whole year, and I said, yeah, I'd get to it. And then it went from, like, I think $8,000 to $16,000 over a couple of weeks, and I called Jeff. It's like, Jeff, did I just miss this thing? And he said, no, we're still incredibly early. And so I threw $500 down, and yeah, the rest is history, right? And so when going back to the debasement to currencies and how you can't unsee this stuff, and we're living in this world, and you know, if I told you that the real rate of inflation isn't 3%, but it's actually 10 to 15%, you know, some people are shocked, but then when you go, well, your grocery bill, what does it feel like now versus 5 years ago? It's doubled, right? That's 10 to 15% debasement per year. When we talk, it's quite a bit, right? Like, and if you think about it, like, so for the Bitcoiners here, well, you've heard this terminology before, but for other people that they're new or they're just starting their journey, money should be a way of storing your energy. Your energy is all the work that you expend, like today and yesterday and the day before, and then you store it for the future, right? So you can take that energy, you can save it, and you can use it later. But when you save, let's say, $100 worth of your energy, and next year it's only worth 90, in fact, it's probably worth $85 in purchasing power, that's theft. I'm sorry. That's theft. And so now we're driven to this place where we have to take additional risks to seek out return just to catch up. And it's pretty hard because at a 15 rate, you know, if your purchasing power is losing 15% per year, well, even more, but let's say it's only 15%. You literally have to get a return of maybe 30 to 35% because you have to pay taxes on that just to level set. It's an impossible race that I don't care how good you are, you will not be able to keep up. And so I look at housing prices in Vancouver. And don't get me wrong, we are going to do a ton of stuff in Vancouver that we control, speeding up the permitting process, getting rid of a bunch of archaic rules, and we making things more efficient so we can build homes faster so they will cost less to build. And we're committed to doing that. That's part of the solution. But if I were to tell you that the average house price in Vancouver has not changed since 1930, how many people would think I'm crazy? Put up your hands. Yeah, I'm nuts. Okay, so I had to prove this to myself. If you go to 1995, the average house in Vancouver cost $500,000. At the end of 2022, it cost $2.43 million, or went up 383%. That sounds right, doesn't it? Okay. If I were to buy a house, the average house in Vancouver in 1995 and paid in gold, it would have cost 958 ounces. If I were to buy that same house or the average house in 2022, it would have cost 957 ounces. It was flat. And people say, well, you pick those numbers. Well, it was a coincidence. But if I were to, over that date range, if I were to take out the outliers high and low, there's, you know, it's either up or down about 11% in terms of gold, but it went up in terms of dollars, okay? And so people feel this. They know it's happening. They can't point to it yet. And so we see it, we're pointing to it, and now that we understand what the problem is, we're looking for a solution to that problem. And gold, like if you had gold, you would have been fine, but gold's just a really shitty form of Bitcoin, in my opinion. Right? And Bitcoin, I don't want to I can't overstate this because I've been talking about this for years. And it, for me, still, after talking about this for years, it only really hit me in the last month. Bitcoin is the only thing in human history that is finite. And for the longest time, I thought, wow, that's super cool. And about a month ago, it hit me. Holy shit. That is wickedly cool. Like, think of anything in all of human history where there's only been one. This is way bigger than I even thought it would be. So anyways, there you go. That's how I got into politics.
I mean, I relate to so much of what you said, and like especially around the fact that your work, the energy that you put into your work, which allows you to be able to make money. No person should be able to print what another person has to work for, because like you said, they are stealing your time effectively, right? And for me personally, like Bitcoin has changed my relationship with money a lot. Right? Like in my 20s, I think I was just living paycheck to paycheck, trying to get the next greatest thing. And when I discovered Bitcoin, and it sent me down the rabbit hole and deepened my interest in like not just Bitcoin, but like economics, geopolitics, game theory, finance, history, because it touches so many different things, right? Like I like the way that Seb Bunnies talks about it a lot, where he says that money is how we language is how we express information, and money is how we express value, right? And it's just how we organize as a civilization at the end of the day. And so it's actually changed my view on the world so much in so many different ways, and allowed me to start thinking more long-term about the future. So I'm curious, you got into Bitcoin in like 2020. So in the last 5 years, as a result of that, has it changed your views, and kind of what are the strongest things for you?
It's changed a lot. Like I don't even know where to start. Like time preference, for example, the way we organize, it's wild because like I said, this is early still, and so we look like we're wearing tinfoil hats. But I never would have thought that I would be sitting here as mayor of Vancouver, talking about Bitcoin and talking about how governments are stealing from us. Who would have thought, right? By the way, we can't print money at the city of Vancouver. We're not stealing from you. But you know what? And look, I don't think the people at the central banks are bad. It's just that's just what they do. Okay, and
They're not bad, they just steal.
yeah, they just steal. But here's the thing, we're the problem because we actually create the reward system, so we have to look inwards. And so, yeah, like I don't know if this is necessarily talking about change, but when I never thought that I would be thinking about what money really meant. And I've spent my whole life like that's been a driving factor. Like, and I'm an entrepreneur, and that's how we measure things and what have you. But when you sort of when I think of the States now, and out of any country in the world, you could say, with the exception of Kuwait, maybe, solid financial footing relative to everyone else. And you go, well, wait a sec, they have a $2 trillion deficit. And I don't think people know what $2 trillion means.
It's not a real number.
No, it's not a real number. Okay, so let me give you some perspective here. If you were to live in a 0% interest rate environment and you could pay down the debt, right? If you're to pay down the debt by $1 every second, how long do you think it would take you to pay $1 trillion? 300 years. That's a lot. No, it's actually 32,000 years. And so the U.S. has $36 trillion in debt. Their deficit is $2 trillion a year. They're adding $1 trillion to their debt every 100 days, and it's compounding. And so when I think of Elon Musk and Doge and how he's going to make everything efficient, well, like I just go back to first principles. I'm like, all right, how would he do it? And so if you wanted to cut $2 trillion off the US budget every year, you would have to eliminate two of the following three. The entire military budget, which is just under $1 trillion, all of Medicare and Medicaid, which is about $1 trillion, interest payments on all the debt, which is about $1 trillion. And you have to eliminate two out of the three. So let's put this in perspective. You eliminate the military budget. That means not a single bullet, which would be a good thing, by the way, but you know, like no aircraft carriers, no soldiers, no relief program, whatever, gone. That changes the world order. You get rid of Medicaid and Medicare, you probably have civil war in the United States. And if you don't pay your interest payments, you default on the debt and it basically collapses the system right there. And by the way, you have to eliminate two of those three just to budget your, balance your budget this year. It's not fixable, you can't do it. We are already going to go through the doom loop. Sorry, hate to break it to you, but it's going to happen, so we got to prepare for it. And this is not like weird quack, like tinfoil hat wearing stuff. Don't trust what I say. Look at it and then ask yourself, how are they going to fix it?
2/3 of each.
Pardon?
2/3 of each.
2/3. So you almost default on your debt. You have minor civil war, and but yeah, no, it's I don't know. Oh, is that the U.S. cutting us off there? Like, do they? Holy shit! They've infiltrated the place where they. No, but look, I don't want to scare anyone. But like, if you go to first principles, I just don't understand. I can't come up with a solution why. And then when you read books like, you know, The Changing World Order by Ray Dalio, like, you know, people talk about a reserve currency. And, you know, they think, well, the U.S. can never fail. It's like, wait a sec. For the U.S. to be the reserve currency of the world, every single reserve currency before it had to fail. Okay, the rise and fall of the Dutch Empire, the rise and fall of the British Empire, the rise and the inevitable fall of the U.S. Empire, and it's the same pattern. Country has amazing technology that basically dominates the world. Then they expand, and then to feed their expansion, they have to print more money, and then poof. Like, it's the same pattern over and over and over and over again, and that's why Bitcoin is. The finite nature of it is so remarkable, because you can't create more. No one can manipulate it. And so all this stuff that this, you know, the glitch that we have in our monetary systems throughout the history of humankind has been fixed. It is so profound. And so a long way of saying, there's like, if it wasn't for what the U.S. election back in November and the U.S. talking about a strategic Bitcoin reserve, we would have waited to daylight this to the next election, because we know we look like quacks. I know right now a lot of people here get it, but some may still think I'm a quack. And the people that are streaming, they might think we're quacks. And someone's going to get a sound bite, they're going to manipulate it and put it out on media, and all of a sudden it's like, we're going to die, right? And, you know, and our system sucks and politicians are terrible and they steal, right? And it's just like, no. You know, we're trying to solve a problem here. And the happy thing is, if we can actually get this onto our balance sheet, we set ourselves up, because we're actually on the other side of it now, and we can actually set the city of Vancouver up for the next 100 years. And so that's the opportunity in this.
It's so true. I mean, I can't imagine the amount of political capital that you had to expend in order to kind of bring this out here. And especially, like, you know, leading into a by-election that's coming up in a couple of months. There's a lot of people, like you said, in this room. Like, we're grateful for you actually planting a flag and saying, hey, we're going to do something about this, because there is a cost to it. It isn't for free.
Yeah, it isn't for free. And look, I didn't want to talk about politics here, but I will for 2 secs, because it doesn't matter. Vote for whoever you want, guys. It's all good. Not that you would listen to me anyways. You're going to vote for whoever you want anyways. I do want to acknowledge, here's an incredible person I've known for a while who's actually stepping up, and we just announced today that he's going to be one of our candidates in the by-election. And that's Jamie Stein. And we had conversations before, and he does support adding Bitcoin onto the balance sheet. So, and we're going to need a lot of counselors to actually support that because we have a. Should I just jump into the battle that we're going to be facing, or
Yeah, sure. Let's do it.
Okay, so this announcement about Bitcoin, this was not virtue signaling. We were not trying to get votes by announcing we lost more votes than we would ever get, okay? And so we did this because we believe it's the right thing to do. Like I said, I have no political aspirations. We just want our city to work, okay? So when we announced that we wanted to pass a motion to explore looking at Bitcoin, it was hard. And if you think about it, it's quite ridiculous because all we're saying is explore. Like, hey guys, look at something. And the amount of backlash we got from that, and it does affect councillors, and some of them were sitting on the fence whether or not we even passed this motion. But it passed. So that was the first hurdle, but we have two more. Sometime probably in May, we're going to get a report back from council, or not council, but from our incredible team at City Hall, and it's going to, give us their recommendations of what we should do, and hopefully they come up with a great report. If not, I'm going to file an amendment and change it, or add some stuff to it. But then we have to get that passed, and we need as many councillors as possible to vote for that thing. So Jamie, we know, and he's a free thinker, by the way. He's not voting because we're telling him. He believes in it. And so when we have our other councillors vote, we get to pass that, and then we can entertain it. The third thing we need to do is we need to convince the province, because we can't do anything without the province agreeing to it. And that's where everyone comes in even more. So by the way, if you like what Jamie stands for, do your research, whatever, and then vote for him, please. If not, great. Vote for whoever else. It's awesome, but just come out and vote. But the third thing then is we need the community to come out and educate people. You have to be vocal. Let your political MLAs, let the premier know that this is actually an important thing. It's not quack science, and all of the things that are against Bitcoin, they've all been debunked, and the reality is the complete opposite of the narrative that you hear about in the media. And we do that, and we have to do it fast. We need to do this in the next 6 months because for anyone who's following it, we know that we're still early, but it's going to happen fast. If the U.S. comes in, they're buying 900,000 Bitcoin, not 800. The U.S. holds 200,000 Bitcoin. I found out in Salvador 2 weeks ago they're going to give 100,000 back. They don't own it, so they only own 100,000. So they're gonna buy 900,000 Bitcoin, which basically soaks up all the production for the next 12 or 14 years, before El Salvador, Honduras, Bhutan, the UAE, the 3 BRIC countries that are front running the U.S., the pension funds. Pardon? They've stated, and they're signaling that they want to have a Bitcoin strategic reserve of 1 million Bitcoin, and they own about 100,000 Bitcoin right now. And so this thing, it's once it happens, it's going to happen super fast. Like BlackRock, like their Bitcoin ETF, it only took whatever 9 or 18 months to do what it took 15 years or whatever their gold ETF. Yeah. So this thing is happening at the speed of light. I think there's 22 states now that have declared that they want to add Bitcoin to a strategic reserve. So the Czech Republic, they want to put 5% of their reserves into Bitcoin. So this is happening really fast. And so it's highly, once again, not giving investment advice, but it's highly, highly, highly probable that this is going to be ubiquitous in 5 years. Everyone's going to be on it. Like, in fact, the narrative, it actually, I only learned this today. Sarah Morton came to present to our counselors, and one of the reality is, if you go to your banks right now, most of them will say, don't buy Bitcoin, we're not set up for it, it's a scam, whatever. And I was pissed off to see that the Bank of Montreal actually has $139 million worth of ETFs. Yeah. Not for their clients, for themselves. RBC, through their acquisition of HSBC, owns $6 million. Right? And so they don't do as I do, not as I say. They're telling everyone don't do it, but they're doing it. Jamie Dimon, right? He's saying it's crap, and they have what, $1.35 billion. Like what the hell is going on this planet, man? Like it's absolutely crazy. So, get educated, but educate your politicians, educate your neighbors, orange pill them, get them to understand it, because it's important.
Yeah, totally. I mean, so, maybe it's important to talk about, for Vancouver, a Bitcoin-friendly city. This sounds like a big idea. What exactly do you mean, and what do you envision for Vancouver by making us a Bitcoin-friendly city?
Well, it's a whole thing. And by the way, for the individuals that aren't just look, full disclosure, I'm a Bitcoin maximalist, but I also can see the benefits of other cryptocurrencies. For the purposes of this discussion and what we want to do at the City of Vancouver, I think the biggest thing we can do is put it on the strategic reserve. But there's a whole bunch of applications, use cases for the others. So I'm not trying to, blow people off here.
Other coins are great for gambling. Yeah.
You know what? Absolutely. I'm not allowed to say that, but no. But the primary, obviously, the big race is to get Bitcoin on the balance sheet. But we have an amazing ecosystem, and like Vancouver and Canada, we are leaders in the Bitcoin space, right? The first Bitcoin ATM was actually in Vancouver. Canada was the first country to push through ETFs, Bitcoin ETFs. So, and we have an ecosystem here. We have the most, Bitcoin merchants that accept Bitcoin in North America, right here in Vancouver.
Sorry, if I could just linger on that for a bit as to get Bitcoin on the balance sheet. Why? Why is that important? Why do we want to do that at a city? Why do we want to take taxpayer dollars and then put those into a Bitcoin reserve?
Yeah. I'll give you an example. Right now, we are sitting on $3.2 billion worth of fixed income instruments, earning between 88 basis points and just under 5%, which really means our $3.2 billion is probably losing about 10% of its purchasing power per year, or we're losing about $320 million a year with our dollars just sitting there. I don't know. I find that very problematic, right? And so when you have Bitcoin on the balance sheet, once again, not giving investment advice, but when you look at it, the technology has been around for 16 years. It's, in fact, the bits and pieces that add up to it have been around for over 4 decades. Oh, hands up. Oh.
I just want to say Bitcoin's also like any other asset.
Yeah. Well, I think it's an incredible asset. Like 11 out of the last 14 years, it's been the number 1 performing asset on the planet. Not top 1%, like the number 1 performing asset 11 in the last 14 years, the number 1 performing asset over the last 16 years. The underlying technology, now I'm not talking about the exchanges, but the underlying technology, the blockchain, it's protected by a huge wall of energy. Satoshi has a wallet with 1 million Bitcoin that everyone knows about, and it hasn't been hacked. I'm sorry, what bank or organization, even the Mag 7, you can say they've never been successfully hacked? No one. So this thing is incredibly secure. It has the network effects, and it's getting more secure by the day. And so when I look at it, and I think, okay, it's 100% certain, or highly, highly certain, like 99% certain, that our currencies get debased even more, because remember that conversation I had about what's going on in the US? The only way out is printing more money, and Canada is no different. So we know our currency is going to get debased unless they do something different, which they can't. So when you look at that and you're holding on to a bunch of pieces of paper with ink on it that's depreciating at an alarming rate, we want to get something else. And I believe, my own personal opinion, not giving investment advice, that Bitcoin is the best solution to the problem. So if we can store our current energy in Bitcoin, it will keep its value, whereas everything else loses its value.
Yeah, I mean, I've heard some Jack Mallers talks about if if we wanted 8 billion iPhones on the world, in the planet, Apple would be able to spin up the companies to be able, or spin up the factories to be able to produce those iPhones, right? But if people want 8 billion Bitcoin in the world, there is no more, right? It is the only fixed supply thing that has ever been created. And that's what makes it such a great store of value, because you can't make more, right? And I think that it's the same thing how, you know, individuals want to be able to protect their own purchasing power by purchasing Bitcoin. I mean, at the end of the day, that reserve that the city of Vancouver has of $3 billion, that's also kind of our money, right? And it's like, it sounds to me like the main point around the Bitcoin Strategic Reserve for Vancouver would be in the interest of preserving that purchasing power into the future.
Absolutely. And by the way, I do want to qualify this. You know, like sometimes people will think, well, what are your people doing at the city of Vancouver? Don't they know any better? Yeah, no, we have incredibly bright, hardworking people at the city of Vancouver who fully understand this. But the system will not allow them to do what we're talking about. And so we're trying to change the system. So I just want to get that out there. I don't want people leaving here thinking that, you know, people in the city of Vancouver are dumb and don't know what they're doing. Very far from it. They're incredible. Sorry, what was your question again?
So there wasn't much of a question there, but yeah.
I remember what I was going to say. Yes, this is our money. This is your money. You represent the city of Vancouver. And so my concern is, if we have this rate of debasement, let's play it out 10 years. And let's say we do everything right. You know, we balance the budget. We make things way more efficient. You know, we cut regulatory red tape. We eliminate error all the ways we can. We still can't outrun this. And then the next thing is, well, we want a safe city. We want first responders. We want firefighters. We want police officers. We want sanitation engineers. But all of a sudden, we can't afford them unless we literally double property taxes, triple property taxes, or we cut services by half. So knowing this is a battle worth fighting, because I'm not too concerned about the city over the next year or two. We have a long-term time horizon. We want the city to work. We think in 100-year windows. We want the city to be successful way beyond our time here. And so this is the one way we can do this, or it's the best thing so far.
Amen to that. So outside, having Bitcoin potentially some way on the balance sheet for our city's reserves, what are some of the other things that we can do in Vancouver to, you know, make us a quote-unquote Bitcoin-friendly city?
Well, I think that's the big one, but you know, making it transactional as well. You know, there's not a big rush for that, but it'd still be great to happen.
I won't pay my parking tickets in Bitcoin. I'm so sorry.
Stack those sats, right? No, but like, I think it's important, like, you know, if we adopt the transactional nature. Now, obviously, we have a challenge with CRA because they still treat it as a capital good. So every time you transact, there's a taxable event. So we have to lobby the federal government to change that and recognize it as a currency. But then when we transact, when we send the signal that the city of Vancouver, we're not just virtue signaling. We really mean this, and we embrace it. We understand the technology. We're bringing it onto the balance sheet. We're ready to make it transactional. It supports the ecosystem. And then when people are making a choice, it's like, wait a sec, you know, I can set up anywhere I want, but I want to be here because the ecosystem is robust here. And it's one of these, you know, we can, you know, if we do this long enough, we'll start to get the network effect where more people come here and they build up the ecosystem, which means more people come here, and then Vancouver could be, you know, well, we already are, but we could be, you know, the leader, you know, in the Bitcoin space well into the future.
Hell yeah. So, you know, you said earlier, like, the housing market in Vancouver, it's there's some stuff that is under our control, right? There's the things like permitting. We can make sure that we're giving permits to builders to be able to get more supply on the market. But then there's a lot of things that are out of our control because there's other regulatory frameworks and also the Bank of Canada that we operate under, right? So especially when it comes to passing some legislation in our municipality, there's only so much we can do as a municipality. We are still governed by the provincial and the federal laws. So let's paint a perfect picture. We win some seats on the by-election. You get a motion passed that we do want to, in fact, add Bitcoin onto the city's balance sheet. What would be the next steps to be able to get there, and what kind of hurdles still need to be overcome?
Yeah, once again, it's really when we get through that next phase, we pass the motion. It's really the provincial government, and so we really have to, when they come on board, we pass this thing. Now, what we have to do, I'm being very pragmatic. The politicians won't listen to you until they think it actually can affect their election. That's just the reality, and that's not party to, that's how politicians think, okay? And so we have to make it meaningful. And I can tell you the next provincial election is going to be close, because the last one was. It was literally decided by 11 people. One riding, 22 votes. So if 11 people went the other way, I'm not making a determination who's better or worse. I'm not saying that. What I'm saying is the election was really close. And if they see a movement, doesn't matter who the movement is, it could be, I don't know, people that like ballet, and if there's enough voters there, guess what? Maybe ballet gets onto the docket. But there are a lot of people in this movement, and a lot of us have been closeted. We've been afraid to speak up because we look like quacks. But I can tell you things are changing. And I don't think the politicians truly understand how much of a difference this one community can and will make in the next election. And you have to be vocal and come out of the closet and let them know that this is important to you. And if you do that, it will change policy, and it will change the future of our city, our province, and our country.
That's awesome.
No, we want to avoid the pitchforks. That's why we want to put Bitcoin on the balance sheet, so we don't need pitchforks.
I mean, I love the approach that you're kind of taking, right? Like to make this vision come true. When I first heard about it, it sounded so daunting, but it almost sounds like you're taking the approach of just one foot in front of the other, and it's just, what do we have to do next? What do we have to do next? And that is how change is cultivated at the end of the day. So you recently traveled to El Salvador for the Plan B conference. So yeah, I mean, I'm just curious, like, what was that like? Did you see merchant adoption there? Did you get to connect with the global Bitcoin community? Yeah, tell us some of your experiences from that conference.
Yeah, no, it was pretty cool. And the U.S. ambassador or El Salvador's ambassador to the U.S. And so we're just talking about our Bitcoin experiences on stage. Met a bunch of people in the community. Went to Bitcoin Beach, and actually that's where the real value was. Just having conversations about all these different things. I learned a bunch of things I had no idea, over my head, but it was really cool. So although I've been on this journey for a while, there's so much to learn still. So that was really cool. The one thing that I was surprised about, though, was the actual adoption of people using Bitcoin wasn't as high as I thought, and the technology is still really clunky. So we're still early. And so when I look at that, even though we know Vancouver's a leader, let's just, I don't know about you, but sometimes I still question it, and you hear about what's going on in El Salvador, and then you come back and you go, oh yeah, no, we are leaders here. We are really ahead of the curve. It may still look clunky. It may not look like the industry's it's just a blip, but you know what? We're hitting way above our weight, and it's pretty cool to see.
That's awesome. So I know that you don't go on Reddit, but I do. So I kind of wanted to make sure, and not everyone in this room might be like a full orange-pilled Bitcoiner, part of the Church of Satoshi here. But there's a lot of criticisms of people that don't understand or they haven't actually read 12 books on Bitcoin. They might still be skeptical. So I collected kind of like the top top reasons why people think that this is a bad idea, and I was just wondering if there's an opportunity to address it.
I get a rebut every single one?
Yeah,
Awesome.
exactly.
Bring
Yeah,
it on.
we're in a lightning round here.
All right.
So one of the first ones, the most popular, is that Bitcoin's way too volatile to hold in the city's reserves. At the end of the day, this is taxpayer money.
That's bullshit. All right. Next question. Was that a good rebuttal or? Like I always okay. So if if you're a day trader, then sure, maybe you get burned. Okay, but if you have a long-term time horizon and you believe in first principles and you think, okay, well, this thing's going to get, our currencies are getting debased and no one can manipulate Bitcoin, and you're like willing to take a long-term view and ride it out, guess what? Once again, Bitcoin might be volatile, but as an aside, if you're like we're talking about hockey right now, Wayne Gretzky was a volatile hockey player. So would you rather have him on your team? Or would you rather have steady Eddie, third line centers play on your team that aren't volatile? I choose Wayne Gretzky. And so when you look at Bitcoin, sure, it's volatile, but 11 out of the last 14 years, it's been the number one performing asset on the planet. Over the last 16 years, it's been the number one performing asset on the planet. So if you get away from the short-term fluctuations, I don't know. I think we should be looking at this, since no other asset on the planet can claim to come anywhere close to that. Maybe NVIDIA, but that's like, you would expect one, like if you were to flip a coin, 50-50 every time, you would expect over 10 years, there'd be one company that just ran the table. But that's just, law of large numbers, right? But like Bitcoin's, it's killing it.
Yeah, totally agree. And I think it's just, underlined by the fact that it's not just, retail that's purchasing Bitcoin to be able to protect themselves. Like you said, it is BMO, it is RBC, it is pension funds, it is some of the largest institutions in the world that are evaluating this right now because they see the value in it. So I totally agree that the volatility is vitality at the end of the day, like the Wayne Gretzky analogy. So the next, dissenter said, doesn't Bitcoin just enable money laundering and crime? Is that what this is all about?
Yeah. How many times are you going to say bullshit? Sorry, there's a little kid in here. I'm sorry. Okay, good. Bullshit. All right. Okay. Okay, you know what? This one cracks me up because there's probably about 3 different things I'm going to bring up. First of all, I think only the dumb criminals and Elizabeth Warren are the only people that believe that this is the case. Literally, the Bitcoin is the truth. It's the truth machine. It's an immutable record that's decentralized. So no one can manipulate the records. You can track everything down to the last Satoshi. If you try to steal it, you can still point to it and you can just see where it moves and catch people. So it's completely dumb. But let's say you couldn't, and people say it's used for organized crime, and we should ban it. Well, if we did that, then why don't we ban iPhones? Because they're used for organized crime. The internet, that's used for organized crime. The banking system is used for organized crime. Cars are used for organized crimes. Shoes. No, but you see what I mean? And so, I think, okay, to bring this close to home, like cash is used for crime. I can tell you there's more cash used for crime in the downtown east side by organized crime that are fencing things right now and preying on our most vulnerable people to do their stuff than there is in Bitcoin. Okay, and so no one's talking about that, but all of a sudden, oh, Bitcoin's bad because it's used for organized crime. It's horseshit. It's whatever.
Just about.
Yeah.
Hey, buddy.
Yeah.
That's great. Objection number 3 from Reddit. Bitcoin's mining energy usage is huge, right? It's the #1 consumer of electricity in the world as far as a computer network goes. Could Vancouver explore sustainable mining solutions, maybe using renewable energy to be able to mine Bitcoin? Is that a thing?
Okay, I think I'm going to answer your question in a different way. And yes, like renewable energy is a big thing. And I think, I might get the stat wrong, but I think 56% of Bitcoin that's mined right now is using a renewable energy source. Okay, but let's rewind back a little bit. Usually the objection is, oh, it consumes way too much energy and it's bad for the environment. That's the one we've heard. Okay, well, first of all, that's not the consumption of energy isn't a bug, it's a feature. It's called proof of work. If you didn't have proof of work, it's literally fiat currency where you can just print stuff. You don't expend any energy, and so you can do more of it and make everything worthless. So gold has value because you literally have to find it, you have to develop the ore bodies, you have to build a mine, then you have to mine it, and then you have to process it, and et cetera. So there's a lot of energy expended. So that is actually a feature, not a bug. And, not but, and Bitcoin is going to solve, it's going to heal the earth, and it's going to solve our environmental challenges. So you think of the production of oil, right? Natural gas is a byproduct. And if you can't store the natural gas and you can't sell it, you burn it off, you flare it off. If you repurpose that natural gas for Bitcoin mining, you actually lower the carbon emissions into the atmosphere. When methane is leaking from the earth, like let's say
Landfills.
Landfills, right? If you capture that and you use it to mine Bitcoin, you actually lower the environmental damage to the planet. For renewable energy projects that don't pan out because the intermittent nature of demand, and you don't know if it's going to work, or you don't have enough consumers to buy it, so these things never get financed. Well, Bitcoin miners are location agnostic, and so they'll go to places and they'll say, we'll buy up all your excess demand, and all of a sudden these things get financed and they get built, and they get built in areas that probably don't have clean energy. They probably use coal or cow patties or whatever. No, I'm being very serious, like cow patties. And incredibly harmful to the environment. All of a sudden, these things get built. And by the way, the residences of these neighborhoods, once these things are built, pay more than the Bitcoin miners do. And so all of a sudden, the Bitcoin miners, for the most part, go to the next location, and that community has a renewable, reliable energy source. So this thing is actually the complete opposite of the narrative that's being promoted by the system that wants to see it fail. So it's great for the environment. Don't believe the crap that you read in the media.
And so Reddit commentator here, their username was I hate everything 49. They asked, isn't Ken just trying to pump his own bags?
I don't know what that means. What, have more people hate me because? No, it's funny. If it was anything else, like if I said, hey, we should buy gold or US dollars, no one would say, oh, well, Ken must own some gold or US dollars. He's trying to manipulate the market. Bitcoin is it's whatever, it's more than, the asset is more than $2 trillion. If all of Vancouver and all of BC went to a Bitcoin standard, it doesn't move the needle. It trades like about $60 billion a year, right? So to think that anything we do in the city of Vancouver is going to move the needle, my $500 worth of Satoshis back from 2020, like whatever, right? Like it's quite ridiculous.
Totally. It's too big of a market at this point for us to even be able to make much of a difference. Cool. So in a moment here, we're going to get to some Q&A questions. I was really hoping that there'd be a lot of people that are coming here that kind of new to Bitcoin and and we can use this opportunity to be able to engage with you about that. But before I do that, I know you talked a little bit about this before, but what's the call to action for people that want to support your cause here? Like, what are the tangible things that we can do? Important dates. Yeah, let's finish with that.
Okay. Well, because you asked, and by the way, I always feel awkward, but yeah, I'm just going to answer anyways. If on the Bitcoin front, if you want to see this happen, we need to get our 2 candidates elected in the next by-election, which is April 5th. Because I can tell you it's going to be a close vote, even with these 2 individuals elected. If we don't have them, this might die on the vine. So it is so important. If this is the only issue, we can talk about a whole bunch of other issues, but that's not the agenda here. That's not the purpose of today. If you want to see Vancouver become a Bitcoin-friendly city, if you want to see Bitcoin on the balance sheet, the first step is getting the 2 ABC councillors elected on April 5th. And there's some other dates where you can vote earlier. That's the big thing. If you want to donate to the cause, all that stuff, that's great. But we would rather have you come out and vote and get all your friends and family, your entire network to vote.
That's awesome. Okay, so we're going to do some Q&A. So how we're going to do this is Fussler here is going to run the mic around to different people with questions, just so that everyone else in the room can hear you. So.
Start here.
What kind of support have you had from other jurisdictions, other cities and so on around the area, and what can we do if we don't live in Vancouver?
That's a great question. So we haven't had a lot of support. Actually, we met the mayor of Santa Monica, who's great. There you go. You're nodding. Yeah. And also the fire department of Santa Monica. They're great too. They're actually very forward-thinking. They've already adopted Bitcoin, so it's actually really cool. We've met a few other politicians, but for the most part, people are hiding from this because people, at least in Canada, you do this at great political risk. And so it's actually easier just to sit on the sidelines and do nothing and just watch the dumpster fire burn. But we choose not to because, we actually want to do something and we actually want to, make this place a better place.
Hey, so my question would be, what is the opportunity cost of putting Bitcoin on the balance sheet? What are the current alternatives? And I guess it's not really, there are also other types of assets that the tax money can go to, right? Yeah.
So, it really depends on how you look at it. So when I looked at fixed income instruments, the nominal opportunity cost is between 88 basis points and just under 5%. But then when things are getting debased at 10 to 15% a year, so it's negative. You can look at real estate, but if you actually break real estate down, the holding costs are incredible, the processing costs are incredible, and so it's a pretty clunky asset, and everything's getting repriced in Bitcoin anyways, and you're starting to see people. So when you look at real estate, for example, traditionally what people like, either intuitively or purposely, they're rushing to real estate because they know that the value of their fixed income instruments are losing value, right? And so they may go, wait, this sucks, let's go to that. Or they may say, I should get in now because I may not be able to get in the future. And so that's really saying, well, we think that's going to go up. They actually don't see that. It's maintaining its value. Everything else is going down. So the opportunity cost, it's minimal relative to the properties of Bitcoin if it plays out how, once again, not investment advice, but how I think it's going to play out. So, and by the way, the hurdle rate right now on Bitcoin is about 45% a year. That's becoming the new risk-free rate where people are looking at it and say, well, I think I can get 45% on Bitcoin. So now if I'm looking to invest in another business or another investment, I need to get at least 45% on a risk-free basis. Now, that's just a commentary. I'm not saying that's risk-free or whatever, but back, when I was in finance, the risk-free rate was the Government of Canada rate. That was like 2-3%. That was, okay, what you can get before you took on any other risk, company risk, when you're, making an investment.
I was just wondering, so because a lot of updates come from mayor, like that come from mayors typically tend to be very high level and not detailed. Where can we find like some sort of City of Vancouver Bitcoin blog or something where we can get highly detailed updates from the City of Vancouver?
Yeah, we don't really have that on Bitcoin. Melissa?
If the motion passes, I imagine the city would look at creating a page to update folks on it, but because it's not council direction to pursue it at this time, there wouldn't be something available.
And is there a team, like, do you have a team yet to look at the exploration or not yet?
Yeah, so we have an incredible team that works at the City of Vancouver, like in the finance department and the city manager's office. And we've actually brought people from the community to come in to educate our people. We actually had a session today with our counselors, so that was really cool. Sarah Morton came in and her partner. And so, we're really crowdsourcing the solutions and getting people involved in the community and helping us out.
No, it's good. And I just want to say, Ken, he wasn't playing around when he said he's very personable. He really is. I've known him since before, since the Rosemary Rock Salt days, and he's very approachable. Thanks, Ken.
Thank you.
Hey, I'm curious about your thoughts on Bitcoin-backed bonds, and if you're successful with this initiative, do you think that could be potentially something Vancouver would consider issuing, like municipal Bitcoin-backed bonds?
Yeah, I don't know enough about it. Like, I understand the general concept. I just don't know what we would. Are you talking about like the City of Vancouver issuing Bitcoin-backed bonds?
Yeah.
Yeah, I can see a use for them. Like, where I see, where I see this playing out, if we were able to add Bitcoin to the balance sheet and it goes where we think it's going to go. The next question is, well, at some point you're going to have to sell it. And it's like, no, actually we don't. We can just like borrow against it. So that would be a case for Bitcoin bonds. But the actual, like, what are the mechanics, to be determined at a future date.
Thank you.
There's a group of us out in Chilliwack that is trying to build a community out that way through a meetup and outreach basically to the city hall and stuff like that. I've had a brief opportunity to speak to the mayor out there about what you're doing and if there's interest out there. His answer was basically, I don't know anything about Bitcoin, but it sounds kind of interesting. I don't know if you would have any advice for us out that way of trying to, you're doing it from the top down, for us trying to do it from the bottom up basically.
Yeah, I don't know. Every politician's different. Sometimes people say, yeah, it looks neat, which is really code for, yeah, sorry, just, go away. That's just the reality. I without knowing the mayor of Chilliwack, I don't know. But what I can tell you, what we want to do at the City of Vancouver, and I've said this on a couple of podcasts, this isn't just about the City of Vancouver. I'm a very proud British Columbian and Canadian, and we want to see everyone succeed. And so, we actually want to see Chilliwack. We actually want to see Toronto. We want to see Calgary embrace it. We want to see Burnaby embrace it, because what's good for them is good for us as well. And the more municipalities we can get onto the program, all of a sudden it goes from quack science, sort of tinfoil hat wearing, to mainstream, and then we can actually bring it on board. Like that, like what's happening in the States is remarkable. Within a couple of months, 22 states have basically indicated that they want to go set up a Bitcoin strategic reserve. Yeah, that's incredible. Now, if we could do the same thing in Canada, if all the cities, like one by one, started and saying, yeah, you know what, this makes sense. All of a sudden, like if we had 15 cities in BC all asking for the same thing, you don't think the Premier's office would take a look and go, holy crap, that's basically all our voters, right? Like we get Surrey, Vancouver, Victoria, Prince George. Basically we have, you know, more than half the province who wants it. They can't ignore it. So it's in our interest to actually spread the word. And it's actually great too, just like spreading the word to your friends. You know, this, by the way, as an aside, this community is absolutely beautiful. It's one of these communities where, yeah, like it's the wildest thing. Like I can tell you, I bet you all of us, we have diverse backgrounds, diverse political beliefs, et cetera, but we're all in this room. And my experience with the Bitcoin community, despite our differences, everyone has such a positive spirit of an intent and they want to help people. It's really freaking cool. And so just do more of that.
So here, in my understanding, the city's government is modeled after like a democratic republic where you have the 3 separate branches of power: legislative, executive, judicial. So you are solely the embodiment of the executive branch. People elected you to execute. Why do you actually have to go to council to implement any one of these things? Really, you could, it's your job to accept taxes in whatever form that may be, as long as it's constrained within the limits of the law, and the judicial power is the one that makes that determination if there's a disagreement. So you could really accept Bitcoin in dollars or Bitcoin or gold or Tide Pods if you wanted to, as long as it makes sense. So why can't you just implement a lot of these policies that we've discussed, whether it be holding it in the treasury or accepting taxes for it, or for government services? And my estimation, my expectation is that you're going to answer something about like political capital. I don't really understand. It's kind of abstract for me. Why not favor more popular capital, like with the people that elected you? Maybe these policies are popular, and maybe they like you for it, and you gain some popular capital. So I'm wondering, why do you have to go to council to ask for every little thing?
I ask myself that question every single day. And I wish I could do exactly what you said. Yeah, that's a great comment. So I'll explain, because cities are different. Actually, in Ontario, there's 50 cities that have strong mayor powers. In the U.S., the mayors can pretty much do anything. And then in Europe, the mayors aren't even elected; they're actually appointed. So they have council. Everyone gets elected as a councillor, and then the councillors go, we like you, so you're the mayor. Okay. So there's different, like the systems are confusing, because not every system is the same. In the city of Vancouver, we have what you call a weak mayor system. And so if we want to pass anything, depending if it's simple stuff, we need 6 out of 11 votes. And as mayor, I only have 1 vote. On spending issues, anything that involves money, we need a supermajority, or we need 8 out of 11 votes to approve something, or things down the line. So I don't have special powers. I can't just, God, I wish there was a benevolent dictatorship in Vancouver. It'd be so good. But we have to and so I actually think, but for the most part, it's actually a very healthy system. And so that's the system we have. And then you get, guys like Jamie who, he could get a way better job. He's stepping up. He's leaving it, putting his life off to the side, and he's stepping up because he wants a future for his kids as well, and a whole host of other reasons. But we need, on this Bitcoin thing, we need 6 votes to pass the motion. And if we were to do something financial, we actually need 8 votes, 8 out of the 11. That's why every single councillor counts, and it's so important that we get these guys elected. And to add another layer, Vancouver is a unique city. We have this thing called the Vancouver Charter. So we have special we're treated differently than every other city in the province of BC. And we're given these powers. However, the only group that can change these powers is the province. And so right now we are not allowed to buy Bitcoin. So the first thing is getting city council to approve it, but then we still have to ask permission from the province. So this is a multi-step process. And I'm actually not concerned about popularity. I actually don't give a heck about it. Right, like we were elected. Look, like I said, I have no future career aspirations. I'm going to be exactly who I am, and I'm going to do what I personally believe is right. And to hell with the popularity. So that's not stopping us. In fact, we already knew that we'd get a negative visceral reaction by a lot of people, and we did it anyways. Now, the positive side is I didn't realize, I knew there were Bitcoiners that were closeted. I actually didn't know how many actually were closeted, so it's actually pretty cool. And also, it's actually, it's daylighted a conversation that we need to have. And so I'm not saying if that's the only thing that comes out of it, it'd be a win, because it'd still be a loss, but it's a nice little perk to it.
Hey again, thanks for talking. I really wanted to highlight what you were talking about with the 5 principles of like what you're trying to accomplish in your term. And I'm just wondering, you know, how, like I think it's very admirable, but how does it not lead you to sort of seeking something higher than municipal politics and towards provincial and federal? I think I saw a quote from you recently talking about how the bail system needs to be reformed to correct for that. So yeah, just want to comment on that, and agreed, we need a Lee Kuan Yew type of benevolent dictator.
They don't end up well. That's why we never have them. No, look, I just know exactly who I am. And it's about purpose, and purpose isn't right or wrong. They're just right for people. And so I know, so my biggest challenge in my current role is I try not to start before 7 o'clock in the morning. And I try to end at 10 o'clock at night, because I can always go on. Like there's another event after this I'm going to. This morning I started off, was it Simi? Who were we on today? Was it Simi today? I forget. I don't know. I was like, we have all this media, and then it must have been Simi, because we have to be there at like 6:50 in the morning. So your morning starts at 6. Or when we go to Global, it starts, I have to be there, like get out of bed at like 4:30 to be there in Burnaby. But the point of the matter is I have to stop myself from doing stuff, because I know I will burn out. And it's 7 days a week, and it's great. And I love it, because there's so much that we want to do, and we don't want to mail it in. And I actually get energy on, you know, speaking with residents throughout the city, because this is the city I love. And I love my kids. Well, 3 of them, not 4. I'm kidding. That joke would have been funny if they were here. But no, we love our kids. And so for me, awesome. If you couldn't pay me all the money in the world, if you literally gave me 1 million Bitcoin and I was dumb enough to take on the role of Premier or Prime Minister, not that it's a dumb role, for me it would be dumb, because I know in about 3 minutes after I accepted that responsibility, I would be under the table, turtling in the fetal position, because I don't want to do it. It's like, it's not my purpose. And as much as I love Chicoutimi and Fort St. John and Edmonton, and you know, maybe I'm a selfish person, but I don't want to give up my life. There are other things I'd rather do than solve a problem in Edmonton. It's not that it's right or wrong, but that's not my purpose, and I don't get energy from it. But the city of Vancouver, this is the place that I love. It's worth fighting for, and that's the program that I've been given the privilege of doing it, and I absolutely love it. And you don't have to pay me a dime to do this. In fact, I pay to be here, and it's awesome, and it's great. And that's why I know I would be a shitty prime minister or a shitty premier, because my heart wouldn't be in it. And so I know that's not in my cards.
Hi, this is awesome, by the way. I'm really enjoying this. I've been trying to get my foot in the door to Orange Pill, my local mayor, and also the local Indigenous communities. I'm wondering, what's the temperature read at City Council for really marginalized communities, the people just having the hardest time, which I personally think is a lot to do with inflation. How do you think adding Bitcoin to the balance sheet could help our most marginalized, vulnerable people in BC?
Well, it's not just the most marginal. I think for anyone, it gives them financial sovereignty. It gives them, like, if you look at your dollars, like, imagine an ice cube. And you're holding this ice cube, and it's melting on you. Replace that with fiat currency. And so, how do you build a future when you're on this treadmill trying to, just keep up, and everything you work for is melting right in front of you? So I think that's not just for marginalized communities, that's for everyone, but it definitely helps marginalized communities. When you talk about the debasement of currency, it unfortunately, and God, this is going to come out the wrong way, it favors the rich. And it's not because people with assets are bad people, but when, if you're holding currency or you're getting a salary, you're getting debased. And individuals that are fortunate enough to have assets, and they weren't malicious about it, they just, were able to buy a home at the time, or maybe they have some other asset, and it's keeping its value, and everyone's getting left behind. And so, once again, not getting political as well, but Pierre, I'm going to point to a Pierre Poilievre example. And I'm not highlighting a political party, okay? So don't take this as a political thing. But he uses the example. You have 10 apples in the economy, you have $10, and then you print another $10. Now you have $20 in the economy. The only thing that happens is the apples cost $2 now. But the apples aren't any different. They didn't go up in value. Now imagine you make $1 a year, and your salary grows at 3%. So now you make $1.03, but now that apple you could buy for $1 is now $2. You just got debased. And so that's where marginalized communities get hammered. Not through the fault of people that have assets or the rich, it's just how the system is structured. And so this is why getting educated on Bitcoin is so important, because for the first time in human history, there's actually something that cannot be manipulated by any one person, company, or country, or central bank. It's actually off-grid. It's not in the current system. And so I think that everyone wins when you go to a Bitcoin standard, in my humble opinion.
Over here.
Yeah, I don't have a question. I just had a comment. I agree with everything you said. It's all on point, and you're definitely you understand Bitcoin on a really good level. And I preach a lot of the same words you're saying to a lot of my friends and family. So you're on point. Thank you for being here.
Thanks.
Thank you. There you go. Running to Mags.
Question for you. So I'm part of Proof of Workforce, and we worked with the current mayor of Santa Monica to launch the Bitcoin office. One of the ways that we got that push through was it was a no-cost initiative, right? We're exploring, the nonprofit that I'm part of is coordinating the office, so there's no funds, no staff, resources being dedicated. So I'm just wondering if that's what you need the 6 votes for, or is that like a way to get through it? And secondly, would that be something for example, Vancouver Economic Commission, which all about economic development? Because, for example, one of the things that we did this summer was we did a Bitcoin festival in the 3rd Street Promenade, which has been just decimated. Nobody goes there anymore, and I'm sure there's parts of Vancouver that are similar that used to be vibrant. So we're trying to bring back, vibrance to these kind of communities. So there's different kinds of initiatives that can happen to, for example, support economic development. So I'm just wondering, what's feasible, what's easier to kind of get across the goal line in Vancouver?
Sorry, are you talking about policy or just in general?
Just anything, whether it's a Bitcoin office pilot or something smaller, something that, embraces Bitcoin, or the people that are willing to dedicate their time, but it's like also sanctioned by the city, because that boosts it, right?
Yeah, I don't know the answer to that. I can give some suggestions. I think, I'll just say this. I don't think there are enough people in the city, like the city of Vancouver, who would embrace Bitcoin at this point in time as well, and with as much passion as a meetup like this, right? And so I actually think this is more organic. People aren't telling people to do stuff. It isn't set up in a structure, and this would go more viral. And so I'd actually like to, instead of looking at it like what can the city do, I'd actually like to, support more events like this and actually, spread the word that way, because we would have big raving fans. There's a big, I think, with anything, but especially with anyone who's getting involved in Bitcoin, you can't be told. You just have to discover it for yourself. And then when you discover it, you probably, if you're like me, you probably get really irritating and you talk about it all the time. You know what I'm talking, like it's a thing. It is a thing. And so, but then it goes more viral. And that's why I know this thing's going to take off. It's already taking off around the world. But when you look at like how passionate people are, it's organic and it's real. And there's nothing that's going to stop this thing. And so I'd rather see it through meetups like this.
I got 130 witnesses. I think you just said you want to give me tax dollars to make this event even bigger. That's what I heard. I don't know. That's what I heard.
No, we haven't approved that yet. So
okay. I want to be respectful of your time. So this is going to be the last question. So here you go.
Hi. Thank you, Ken, for the amazing talk. So my question is, if BC Conservative was elected in last provincial election, do you think they will allow Vancouver to have the Bitcoin reserve?
Yeah, I have no idea. Like I really don't. I don't want to speculate. And I think whereas personally I may have like a favorite party, I think people have to understand. I take my role very seriously, and so I have a fiduciary responsibility to work with whoever's in office in Victoria and whoever's in office in Ottawa, and we'll continue to do that. As a general comment, I can tell you most politicians that I've met are very early on their Bitcoin journey, if they're on a Bitcoin journey at all. And in fact, a lot of politicians have come out against this, using all the debunked, arguments. So, that'll change. When the whole world changes, they're going to have to adopt it. We still need to collect tax revenues.
All right, that was awesome. Everyone, give it up for Ken Sim.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for coming out. It's amazing. And no hecklers. Actually, I'm actually surprised. I thought there was going to be a few.
The night's still early.
Thank you all for being here at Fun Coffee Bar tonight. Don't go anywhere yet. We have a whole bunch of giveaways from our amazing sponsors. So Bustler here is going to talk a little bit about that.